Now, my personal number two has always been, are you concentrating on the pin or are you concentrating on the target? And I can't tell you how many people concentrate on the pin, and it drives me crazy. You're putting the pin on there, fine. The method that I teach is you got it on the deer or on whatever target you're shooting at. Because again, this does not only apply to hunters. This applies to target shooters too. Especially like the kids that I teach, I find a lot of them will start aiming and then go back from putting on the target and start focusing on the pin. Well, I don't know if you realize it, but there's different ways I explain it to people. The best way I can explain it to someone who doesn't understand what I'm talking about is very simple. If you take a handgun, why is a rifle more accurate than a handgun? Why do you think?
I'm not sure, honestly.
Sights are further apart usually.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
That's number one. But the other thing is that when you're off, you can actually see it because you've got a longer end on it and you can see it. Well, you don't have that luxury with a bow. And what will happen is if you take your eye off, you put the pin on the target, and then you are now looking at the target, but then you go back to concentrating on the pin, you don't realize that that pin could be doing this, it could have moved, but it'll still look like it's on the target because the target that you're not focusing on is this big and you'll think it's right there. But when you start focusing on the target, the pin can stay in a smaller place, which is number three problem. What do you think that is?
I'm not sure.
Pick a spot. How
Yeah.
many people do you know that don't pick a spot?
Yeah.
And I hear this excuse all the time. You see it in 3D because what's the difference between 3D and target as far as what you're aiming at?
You can see the spot.
There's a target. Now, with animals and in 3D, that's why they make them like this. 3D, sometimes you can see the rings that they put on there because they're carved into the animal. Depending on how far you are, you can see it with your binoculars, whatever. But animals don't have targets on them. So that makes it really, really common for someone to have an issue because they're looking at the target, okay, but they're not picking a spot. When they don't pick a spot, it's very common to aim at the whole animal, which means you have no idea if you're aiming directly at the spot you're looking at or just in a general area, and the way that you're angling and everything else, it may look like you got it in the right place because you're not picking out something, a definite small spot. It'll go way high, way low, to the left, to the right. It could be a disaster. So that's why we tell people this. The other thing that happens when you're doing that is when you're aiming and you don't pick a spot. I tell people the most critical part of aiming is, and they think that aiming just starts, you get it there, and then you fire and it's over. No. When you fire, okay, your aiming has finished part one. Part two doesn't happen until you watch the arrow go, because you're aiming, your eye is locked, you fire. If you don't lock your eye on that arrow and you can't actually, people just try this if you've never done this. Follow the arrow to the target. See what the most accurate shooters can actually see the arrow as it travels the entire way, which means they're not moving the bow out of the way and they're not flinching their head. They're not doing anything like that, because everything that you do once you fire has to do with affects the impact of the shot, where it's going. So if I fire and all of a sudden I'm not watching the arrow and I could be going like this, that might be because I'm pulling and affecting the arrow's flight. It could be because now I'm dropping my bow, anything like that. So most people don't connect aiming to that part of it, but it's all a part of it.